British negotiators have warned Brussels to get real if it believes claims of Dominic Cummings' impending exit will lead to Boris Johnson caving on Brexit. UK officials believe bureaucrats are desperately scrambling for excuses now they are starting to realise the Prime Minister will not water down commitments to take back control of the country's laws and fishing grounds. Senior EU figures have claimed rumours about the top Downing Street advisor's departure was a sign Britain is ready to accept a compromise deal with the bloc. But Lord Frost has warned EU counterpart Michel Barnier that Number 10 will not shift on its fundamental principles as time runs out to clinch an agreement. The Prime Minister's Brexit envoy insisted Brussels would have to show more realism and creativity to plug the significant gaps after another week of wrangling ended in deadlock. A UK official said, David and the team are completely focused on the negotiations. The PM has been clear that he wants a deal if there is one to be done. We've been negotiating constructively and with creativity. The reason the EU to say these sorts of things is that they are starting to realize that we meant it when we said there were fundamental principles from which we couldn't move. We need to see some realism and creativity from their side if we are to bridge the significant gaps that remain. British officials have vented their frustrations about the apparent blame game being triggered by Brussels with talks over the future relationship set to go to the wire. Insiders have accused the EU of spouting nonsensical claims in a desperate bid to shift the blame for a no-deal Brexit onto the government. Their angry intervention came after Manfred Weber, a close ally of Chancellor Angela Merkel, suggested the chaotic situation in Number 10 was blocking any progress. Bureaucrats believe Mr. Johnson wants a deal but Mr. Cummings and his Vote Leave allies have been undermining the negotiations to secure a clean break. Mr. Weber said, we need a clear idea from Boris Johnson. It's now time for leadership. It's time to take over responsibility and come to a common understanding. Britain has red lines, we have red lines, let's now come to a compromise. His confidence was shared by senior Belgian MEP Philippe Lambert, who is a member of the EU Parliament's Brexit Committee. He said claims of Mr. Cummings' despise was probably the sign that Johnson has begun his U-turn and will in the end accept EU conditions. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said it was simply false that Number 10 is prepared to soften its position in the trade talks. He said, the government position in relation to the future trade agreement negotiations is unchanged. We want to reach a deal. It has to fully respect the sovereignty of Britain.